Hello guys, and welcome once again to Savannah Essence. If you're interested in learning how to make this carrot, turmeric and shea butter soap, then do stay tuned, okay? So to start off, what we are doing this in this recipe is that we are infusing the turmeric powder instead of the usual. If you've not watched my how to make turmeric soap video, I'll just link it up there somewhere. You have a look at that. That's one we just add the turmeric powder into the butter and just make the soap. This one we are infusing the turmeric powder. Usually we infuse it in sunflower oil for a couple of days and then we strain it and then we use it to make the soap. Unfortunately, this order just came in yesterday and the person is traveling in 3 days time, so I do need to make this and give it to the person so the person will travel with it and it will cure wherever she's going to and then she can start using it. And so I had to make this this way, and I also just decided to share this video just in case someone might be interested in using this technique. This is actually a very well-known technique that people use in making turmeric soap. So I infused it in baobab oil. Next, we are going to start, the actual soap making processes where we start measuring our water and our lye and our oils. Here we are using carrot puree. Now, how I make the carrot puree is just to pick fresh carrots, blend it, freeze it, use. If you also haven't watched how to make our carrot soap video, I'll link that in. Over there, I showed you how I blended a carrot and how I used it. This time around, I froze it and then I used it to make the soap. And so that's what and usually I measure it and then I freeze it. And so when I'm using it to make the soap, I don't measure it again. What we have here is our caustic soda that we are measuring, the basic soap making procedure, and then we start pouring in our caustic soda bit by bit. Now carrots have in them sugars, and so you want to add your lye or your caustic soda a little at a time so that you don't scorch your carrot puree, or you don't make it burn or make it turn into brown. And you also need to stir this over and over again because this is frozen and it's cold. If you do not stir it properly, you end up having your lye or your caustic soda crystallize and settling at the bottom of whichever container you are using, and that might lead you to making soap that doesn't have the right amount of lye, and then you do not have the saponification the way you want it to go. So make sure you stir this over and over and over again as you set it aside to sit for a little bit, and then you add the rest of your lye to it. Now, this is my shea butter. This person has sensitive skin, so she said that she wanted something that was a bit mild. So this soap has a lot more butters than it has, than most of the other, well, not most of the other soap, but this soap has a lot more butters, so that it will work very well for her sensitive skin. So I made 2 different soaps. I made a goat milk soap and then I made this one. Unfortunately, I couldn't record the goat milk soap, so let me know if you'll be interested in that, and then I'll make another video on how to make the goat milk soap as well. Okay, all right. So like I said, your lye, you add the lye bit by bit, a little at a time, and that's what I've done, a little at a time, and then I mix it thoroughly so that I get my carrots puree to stay in the color that I need it to be. As you can see, it's a bit brown, not as it was, but it still has that orange color in it. But if you had just poured all the lye in it, trust me, this would have been a brown to dark mixture, and you wouldn't want that in your soap making journey. Okay, so now we are done with that. Let's continue with our batters. So this is the weather here is extremely hot. It's very, very hot, to an extent that I have my cocoa butter melting as it sits. That's how hot it is. So that's what you see there is cocoa butter that is melted. I haven't melted it anyway, it's just melted. You can see the shea butter too is very, very soft. Yes, that's because the temperature here we record very high temperatures. It's extremely hot, and so usually these days I don't melt my butters anymore. I use the heat transfer method, and you see how that goes. So I'm now measuring my liquid oils here. I'm using some castor oil, some coconut oil, and then some olive oil. That's what I'm using in this recipe also for her soft sensitive skin. And don't forget, we already infused baobab oil in the turmeric. So this soap contains baobab, castor, olive, coconut, shea butter, and cocoa butter. So I'm done with the oils. So this is the heat transfer method I spoke of. The heat transfer method, basically, you pour your lye, when you mix your lye in your water and then it dissolves and everything is fine, you're ready to use it to make your soap. Instead of pouring your lye into your whole oil mix, you pour it into your solid butters first. It melts it. As you can see, it has thoroughly melted the butters. You see, it melts it nice and easy for you, and then you can pour in the rest of your oil, so you do not have to heat your butters anymore. And this is what we call the heat transfer method. I like using it once in a while. A lot of people also like it. I like using it for me because it makes my butters fluid. That's my personal experience. Some people say it gives them a faster trace. It doesn't do that for me. It makes the butter so fluid and so soft. We also head towards the rainy season, so there'll be some insects here and there in my neighborhood. So bear with me as I make the soup. Okay, so what we do is once you have your butters melted using the heat transfer method, you now pour in your oils. Okay, you pour in your liquid oils, and that is it. That's actually simply how to use the heat transfer method. It's actually a very good method. For those of you who do colors and you do intricate designs, this might be a very good method for you. I'll do another video on the heat transfer method and how to do it. Now this is my turmeric that I've infused, that I am now finally straining, and then I will now add to my oil. So like I said, you know, this what you see is what I use for my skincare. So for skincare, I infuse it for like 2 to 3 days, or sometimes a month also, just to infuse it thoroughly, and then I use it for my salve. It gives it this vibrant yellow color, very beautiful, and people really like the salve. So that's how I do the salve as well. So I pour that oil also into my mix, and you see it's giving the whole butter this nice beautiful yellow color. And so basically this is how we make the carrot, turmeric and shea butter soup. I hope you try this at home, although this is a custom order and unfortunately I will not be able to give the recipe out. Just note that it's for sensitive skin, so the butters had a higher percentage. And then I also mentioned the number of oils that I used, so you can pick those ones, or you can just pick different oils and then, you know, tweak it whichever way you want. Make sure that it adds up to 100%, and just, you know, make your soap, run it through soap calc, and then make your soap, try it out and see if it is something that your skin loves, and then you can, you know, continue. If it's something your skin doesn't like, the thing about soap making is your continuous substitution of oils. That is what makes your soap better. You need to learn how to play with it and play with oils. Well, it takes a lot of resources to do that, but that's the only way we can all learn. So I'm adding my fragrance here, and I'll tell you why. Maybe I shouldn't have used this fragrance when we go ahead with the video. Yes, so this is it. Gives a fluid, beautiful butter. So like I said, the heat transfer method gives a fluid, you know. So for those who wanted designs at this stage, you could do whatever designs you want, because it's still a very fluid butter and you can use it for whatever you want to do. I will stick blend it at this point. Unfortunately, I think I lost the feed of me stick blending it. So the next thing you see is the butter. Before we are already done with the stick blending, and then we are going to start with the pouring. So you see, it's a thick, beautiful orange to yellow butter that my soap molds are just tired and worn out. I mean, I think I need to invest in new silicone molds. These ones are just tired and worn out. I mean, it's not been easy. So I might have to invest in that. I also would have to just order a few supplies. So I'll be working to ship them here, and then because the soap making is a difficult process, so if you have some equipment and tools, that will make it easy for you and you have the resources, do invest in it. It's very good. So I'm gonna scrape everything into my soap, my molds, just to ensure that I have it as full as I want. And then I'll just do a simple design, nothing fancy, this already been, well, I don't really make fancy designs on my soaps because, well, we just use natural colorants here. So we are not using micas or any colorants to do any design. So it's really not necessary to now sit down and say, I want to do a feather swirl. I mean, we can do that, but for what? Okay, so usually I like to make simple soaps. Hopefully in the near future I'll do some other designs as we go along, but for now I'll just do the simple ones that we can all do at home. The hope is that whatever we do here, you should also be able to do it at home, so that we demystify this whole soap making thing. Is so difficult. Well, it is, but practice over and over and over again, and you also get to do it the way you want it. So yeah, this is the simple carrot turmeric and shea butter soup that we made for Jessica. Sorry, I had to mention her name, but I like clients like that who just come and say, this is how my skin looks like, do something for me. I've tried this your soap, I loved it, but I have sensitive skin. Can you do something for me, just for my skin type? And we can come up with a budget for you, we can make the soap for you, and then you can use it in whichever way you want. So usually I like when people say, I use this your soap, I liked it, can you make this other one for me? And I'm like, okay, that's good feedback, that's good. We will try and impress you this time around. So we are now going to start cutting our soaps, and as we cut, I'll talk to you about what I think I could have done differently in this soap, making this soap, and maybe what you could also learn from it when you are going to make yours finally. And then, because as you can see, the butter was this nice vibrant orange, or is it yellow, orange color, and then the final soap turned brown, and I've used the turmeric infusion technique a number of times. It always gives this nice yellow vibrant color, so I was expecting that for this particular soap. But since we didn't get that, I think there are a few things that might not have worked the way I expected it. So I'm just going to run us through it. Well, it's nothing really much. So number one, I think that I should have infused the turmeric for at least a couple of days, because what I just did was basically 30 minutes. Just poured the powder in the oil and just let it settle and then strained it. I mean, for my salts, picture here, you see the color is a nice yellow vibrant color, and people really like that. People really like that, they can see the turmeric in the self when you see, because for instance, this soap, if I tell you this is a carrot turmeric soap, you say, oh, but it looks brown, why is the turmeric in it, why is the carrots in it, right? And so you think that. So number one is that I think that if you're trying to make this soap, make sure you infuse your turmeric for some days, and then you let it sit, and then you stir it. Once you infuse the powder, you stir it once in a while. Make sure that the infusion is a strong one, so that you can now strain it and use. So that's one thing that I'll do. Another thing that I'll do is to make sure that you pick fragrances that do not have vanilla in them. So vanilla in fragrances tend to make your soap brown, or to discolor your soap. What I noticed was that this particular fragrance actually is a vanilla fragrance from Nature's Garden, and then I should have not maybe used this if I wanted to retain the color. So make sure that the fragrance that you are picking does not contain vanilla. If not, it will discolor your soap. So that's the one thing too that maybe I should have taken notice of. But at the end of the day, what it's supposed to do for the client, it will still do. And so I'm quite comfortable with this. And I did try this soap after I made it. I tried it 3 days after I made it. Please don't do that. Well, if you're a soap maker, you already know that we do that. So If you're a soap maker and you haven't used your soap after 3 days, or even sometimes even after 24 hours, then you are something else. Thank you guys for taking time out to watch our video. Kindly subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that. It's just the red subscribe button down there. Kindly click on it. It really helps us to grow.